and Craig suggested that Mr. Ravazio sing with Daryl, and it's the first time I've seen John speechless. So, kidding, not in the minutes. Okay. Okay, first item on our agenda for Finance Committee is approval of our Finance Committee minutes from June 20th. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Ms. Sheets, KZ. Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Okay, our minutes are approved. Thank you for that. Okay, so right now we have several items on the agenda. The finance report, I'm sorry, the fueling hedge strategy is the first thing I wanted to go to, right? We go to the minutes and then the hedge strategy. So we have a presentation from Linwood Capital, and Jeff is here to represent Linwood Capital. Mr. Pickleton, would you like to introduce?
Yes, we've asked Jeff Lemunion to join us. He is the principal point of contact at Linwood Capital, which is the centerpiece of our fuel hedging strategy and the leadership that is involved with that subject. This whole subject really is in response to questions and just trying to bring the board further engaged in some of the strategy and details around how we incorporate the concept of fuel hedging strategy into our monthly management of our P&L. I know Craig has been a leader in advancing discussion on the subject, and so we are hoping that we can really ground the group. So I want to encourage everybody to engage in a full round of Q&A to the extent that they've got any questions on content from Mr. Lemunion's presentation. So with that, I'll set it up to Jeff.
Good morning, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity. There you go. Now it's on. Hello. Okay. So again, thank you for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity to present to your board on fuel hedging. You've been doing this. We established a program with SORTA, I think, in 2006. So it's been a while since we've been doing this, and it's been controlling your fuel costs and giving you a little bit higher certainty of your future fuel costs and less budget risk for quite a while. And so Linwood Capital, my company, we've been creating and managing fuel hedging programs primarily for public transit properties since 1997. And so what that means is that the creation of the fuel hedging program involves creating for each one of my clients and for you as well, of course, a statement of policy and strategy. And this statement defines what the program is, what the expectations are, who's doing what, the purpose of the program, and what the expected results are. And then also what I do is help my clients gain access to the needed financial instruments to affect the program. In your case, this is exchange-traded diesel fuel futures contracts that I manage that account on a day-to-day basis to execute your strategy. And so the program management, managing the day-to-day operations of the program, I make the needed transactions, sell the contracts when they need to be sold, buying new contracts when that makes sense. And again, this then generates the results of your program moving forward. Also, there's a reporting element of what I do, and that is sort of communicating to you through a weekly report on the effectiveness of the program, whether there's realized gains and losses from a historical standpoint, and then also looking at projections for the future, what your projected fuel costs are going to be, net of the hedging, the effect of the hedge, and then that helps you with your budgeting process and with managing your costs. And so my company currently right now hedging about $250 million worth of annual fuel spend among 19 clients. 16 of my clients are public transit properties around the country, and we are a registered commodity trading advisor. And so Fuel Hedging 101, really it is nothing more than determining the cost today for fuel that's going to be purchased and consumed later. And this is done by contract. So the results of this are lower fuel budget risk, a higher certainty of future fuel cost, and then we strive to create a lower overall cost of fuel in the long term by seeking to make new hedges, new buy transactions at relatively low prices, and I'll get into that in a minute. And this is a financial function only, so this doesn't have anything to do with your fuel supplier or how you purchase the fuel or store it or put it in the buses. It's purely a financial overlay type function that offsets the movements in the fuel cost that you experience from your supplier. Really what the effect is that the daily market is no longer sort of in charge of what your fuel cost is going to be. You have a degree of control over that in advance. And so the advantages of all of this are better planning, budgeting, forecasting. Your fuel costs are known with more accuracy into the future. And because public transit is relatively fuel intensive, this causes fuel hedging to add more value to your organization. Fuel hedging 201, this is now breaking out a little bit of the strategy and policy. And so the general strategy that I follow with you and for all of my clients is one of opportunity capture. So this is hedging more further into the future when prices are relatively low. If prices start to move up, threatening your budget or other targets, we would then hedge incrementally as prices move up as needs be. And also maintaining a minimum hedge into the future, which is typically right around 12 months, so that you have this minimum level of cost certainty and budget stability into the future. But basically, it's seeking overall low cost while managing risk, and these things are not mutually exclusive, and that's what we try to do. So generally, it's what is the market doing to me that has to stop, or what is the market giving to me that I should take advantage of, and we address both of those things. And certainly not unimportantly, avoiding mistakes. I've seen many public transit properties over the years, one back in 2008 where prices went to the moon, and they hedged 3 years forward at very, very high prices, only to watch the bottom fall out of the market, and they were paying a very high price net of the hedge for 3 years. So it's avoiding things like that and preparing for those types of market situations. The policy part of the equation is to basically two separate things: the forward pricing window, how far forward can you go into time. Your forward pricing window is 36 months forward. Not that that's prescribed that we have to be 36 months forward, but that's how far we can go into the future. And also the hedge ratio, which is the what percentage of the future fuel needs that you're projecting, how much of them should be hedged, and what would be the maximum of that. So for you right now, that's 90% for the first 2 years looking forward, and then 50% for months 25 through 36. That's your policy, the way that that's set up right now. So that is sort of the maximum parameter, and then we manage the program within those parameters. Just to give an example of hedging mechanics, how this actually works for you using financial instruments. So for example, if you have a budget of $2.60 a gallon, and your actual fuel cost from the supplier for this month is $3 a gallon, and you burn 500,000 gallons, you're going to pay the fuel supplier $1.5 million for what you bought from them. But the forward pricing then comes in, and over the preceding 12, 24, 36 months, you've accumulated hedging for 475,000 of those 500,000 gallons, 95% hedged in this case. And you've done so at a price of $2.50 a gallon. Now the price is $3 a gallon, and so you have a realized gain of 50 cents a gallon on 475,000 gallons. And so that creates a negative fuel cost of $237,500. We net that against what you paid to the supplier. Your fuel cost net of the hedge for the month is the $1,262,500, or $252.5 a gallon, which is within your budget, and that's what makes this. That's how this would work. If we see, we can go to the next slide here, I guess. I didn't give you the down example, but you can imagine what if prices go down to $2, then you're paying that loss, and the price is nearly $2.50 again, and so. So the gains and losses that are produced by the hedging program become an element of fuel costs, either a positive or a negative fuel cost, and that's how that's accounted for. Your portfolio right now, as I mentioned, the policy maximum 90% for months 1 through 24, 50% for 25 through 36, and this is actually a little older. Could we go back to the previous slide, or there we go. So this was as of last month. We actually did get the orders there in the third bullet point, the orders that have been placed that were not yet filled, they did get filled. And so we are about 57% for months 1 through 24 right now, going out to the end of, so we're fully hedged going out to the end of September of 24 currently. And so forward prices remain relatively high with respect to historical averages, and this is the primary reason why we haven't extended further forward than we have right now. We're kind of waiting for more market developments. If we were to see prices drift lower, we would then extend the portfolio further than the current 16 months that we see. And so, for example, when prices were relatively low, back when 3 years ago when we were in the middle of COVID, when prices crashed quite spectacularly, on December 20th of, December 4th of 20, you were about 95% hedged for months 1 through 24, and about 38% for 25 through 36. So that just gives you an idea that when prices do move down, then we take the opportunity to move the portfolio a little bit further forward in time, and to capture that opportunity by buying more when prices are relatively low.
I want to make sure I understood. So you said, I get 2 questions. For the next 24 months, we're hedged, fully hedged, you said, through when?
No, you are, for months 1 through 24, you're 57% hedged right now, but you are fully hedged up to your limit through September of next year. So instead, it's not an across the board. It's like 100% for 57% of the months instead of 57% for 24 months, right?
And then, so I guess December 4th, 2020, is there a reason we wouldn't have been fully hedged all the way out to, 50% even through the 36th month?
Was there a reason why?
Right. We didn't fully hedge to the.
No, that's right, because prices were not absolutely at the bottom. If that makes sense. So I'm looking at like a historical distribution, it would be very rare to have it be completely 100% for the prescription to be, 100% hedge. You always want to leave something that's going to, if prices drop out a little more, you'd have something to buy. So that's why that is, 38% and not 50%, and just timing differences in there. I mean, it's so that's so for example, if we were to move, the next month forward, that then would automatically take that down. So, but we were kind of keeping the portfolio relatively maxed out at that point in time.
Jeff, could you expand on the point that you made earlier around market developments and how that impacts the pricing strategy? What would be an example or two of market developments that would be of such consequence that would affect the notion of going out and being more hedged in the future?
Right. Well, obviously, price is what we're looking at, because price is ultimately what's real to you. But there are things that drive the price. Yes. We have on the supply side, what OPEC policy is, what U.S. domestic production is. You have things like unforeseen events like COVID that will destroy demand almost immediately. We're seeing, global growth trends. Are we going into a recession or not? And if, just last week, the Chinese GDP, second quarter GDP, came in a little lower than was expected, and that means that their economy isn't growing as quickly, which means that global demand expectations are adjusted down a little bit, and then that's negative for price. The other thing that's been going on here in the past year or so is actions from the Fed driving interest rates and the value of the dollar. The dollar is very consequential in the price of petroleum. Petroleum around the world is priced in dollars, and so if the dollar is sort of more expensive versus other currencies, then the price, the nominal price of petroleum in dollars has to come down to adjust for that, because then it would just automatically become more expensive for other currencies. So that has to balance out. So generally speaking, a higher dollar is negative for petroleum prices and vice versa. And, you know, here in the past several weeks, since inflation isn't, inflation has kind of come down a little bit since last year. This then signals the market that they don't have to raise rates as high or for as long. The Fed does. This brings down interest rate expectations, making the dollar less attractive as a investment currency versus other currencies, and so that comes down, and that's supportive of price as well. So there's many things on the supply and demand side that affect where the market goes, where it's trending day to day. So we had the last month in June, a lot of things were sort of pointing down. We had a relatively strong dollar. Russia was overproducing. OPEC had not yet cut its supply, and so you kind of had this situation. Things are starting to tighten up a little bit. Global demand expectations moving a little bit higher. Supply expectations are getting a little bit lower, and that's why we've been seeing prices moving the way that they do. So there's all of these, things moving around in the market on a day-to-day basis. Geopolitical events, we'll see a graph here in a second. You'll see a nice calm market doing its thing, and then, the war in Ukraine starts, and it looks like an earthquake on a seismograph. So, but yeah, there's many of these factors on a day-to-day basis, and obviously it's my job to kind of digest all of this on your behalf and make the necessary transactions that need to be made.
So I guess you're not trying to how the market's reflected in what the hedge price is, right? So there's a lot of the forward pricing is based on other people looking at those same factors.
Correct. Yeah.
And so, but you're saying they got it wrong, or they're having to take risks that you don't have.
No. So the forward pricing curve is not. It has predictive properties, but it's not. That's really not what it is. It's not people guessing what the spot price is going to be a year from today. It has to do with really what hedging is all about, and that's you're getting rid of risk by having a known cost, and then through the invisible hand of the market on the other side of that, you have a guy who owns an oil well, and he needs certainty of revenue essentially, and so we're making those transactions not obviously directly with him, but through the market mechanism where he says, okay, well, I can live with $75 a barrel for my oil coming out of my well, and we at the same time are saying, okay, we can live with $2.25 diesel fuel, and that's how that happens. So it's communicating those prices through. There are expectations, but the slope and level of the forward pricing curve has more to do with level of inventory and expectations of demand.
Right, but so you're not pushing us to hedge out further because you think the prices will come down. So
That there is a possibility that they will come down, and then there is that's not entirely it. I mean yes, but the other thing is that if we do hedge out further and then prices come down, we've created opportunity cost. And so part of all of this is to avoid the opportunity cost.
right, because you expect the cost to come down. I mean, that's not the only reason you do it, right? You can't figure out no reason why it wouldn't be fully hedged out to the maximum unless you thought the price was going to come down.
Because, well, there are other factors. So for example, we don't want to hedge for the sake of hedging. It has to be a good reason to do it. It has to be to your advantage, right? So if prices are relatively low, that's easy to see, right? We can lock in, relatively low prices for a long period of time. The other thing is do you need the cost certainty that far into the future? And so, for example, if you weren't hedged and I told you that prices were going to go up to $10 a gallon tomorrow morning, that's a problem. But if I told you prices were going to go up to $10 a gallon 5 years from tomorrow morning, that's also a problem, but something you have the ability to deal with. So it's a the further forward in time you go, the less risk you have because you don't need that certainty. If price comes down, then we say, okay, now the balance has flipped. Now there's more of an opportunity, and yes, you should be doing that.
So how do we decide how much certainty we think we need? Because that's been my question.
Well, I think the response would be impacted by, or the decision would be a function of what the impact would be on the P&L. Okay, so if I could summarize, it seems to me like what Jeff is saying is that he doesn't want to go out for the full 36 months because in that last 24-month period, because of the relative potential for all these developments to impact the price in the market and the volatility associated with trying to characterize the impact and quantify, ultimately that is not giving him sufficient confidence that we should lean that far into the future. And so it's like the line in the sand for comfort relative to all these factors being assimilated together and a decision being made around how aggressive we need to be. 24 months seems to be kind of like the line in the sand. Can you support that summary, Jeff?
Yeah, I think, so the idea is that we're looking at price primarily as the where we can make new hedges. That's primarily what we're looking at. Do we want to hedge at that price, or can we wait until tomorrow and see what happens?
Yeah.
Or do you have the need for certainty, like 90% hedged certainty 24 months in advance? If you do, then we can kind of change the parameter of how things are done. But I mean, typically it's you want to have a high degree of certainty when you're making the budget for the next fiscal year, which you do because you're almost, if you were to make the budget, say 6 months before the beginning of a fiscal period, you already know the answer to that question. You already know what that fuel is going to cost you for the next fiscal year, and then beyond that, then we need price advantage essentially to go a little bit further forward.
Right, and so it sounds like you may be making it.
Yes.
That's okay.
Well, so let's tie it into that. Let's talk about the policy decision. So Craig, Larry, thanks for bringing this all up, and Jeff, thanks for the presentation. A lot of us haven't heard this presentation before. So for our benefit, the policy decision to go 90% hedged at 24 months rather than 36 months. When mechanically does that happen during the?
We're not making it. The policy isn't to be 90% hedged. It's to be no more than 90%.
Right, the max setting the cap at 90%. When does this body weigh in on that? Is it during the budget process or?
That's just the policy. So we don't really revisit it. That's kind of why I'm asking.
That's not revisited.
Well,
We could. There's not a reason
Yes.
not to. It's just been in place for some time. And I know I'm sounding combative. I'm not trying to, but I think it's important that we understand how the mechanisms work. And I think it is obvious that you believe the price is going to come down for whatever it costs you today, or that the chance is better than why not tie yourself up. I get it, right? But it's a choice not to be 90% hedged. And that I think we have deferred that, and so and which may be okay. But I think it's interesting. It should be how far we think we want certainty, not how far you think we should have certainty.
Correct.
So that's all.
Yeah,
So
if you want to make that
my
go,
part of that question about the policy is
If
that
you want that
the
further
policy's
forward
been
because you
90%
need that.
hedged for 24 months for some time, right? Okay.
right.
And we all miss sometimes when we time the market. I do believe there's other influences that sort of other people have to be hedged out further, which probably costs them money. So we can choose not to. I do follow
Right.
all that. But
And Greg, just to kind of, again, pull all this together, we talked about the policy and how long that's been in place. We certainly can take a follow-up to revisit whether we should adjust the percentages in the policy.
yeah. And I think it's interesting. This was a huge deal when we didn't have any money, right? For a variety of reasons, right? Both getting cash out there and such, and so we have some more flexibility. And so before we couldn't handle any risk of the price happening to double, right? So the price of oil went from whatever gasoline at your pump went from $2 to $4, right? So there's been a chance of higher risk on the upside, which we couldn't afford. We have funds so we can maybe afford to manage some of that risk differently. I just wanted us to get thinking through, right? Because who knew that OPEC was going to cut production? Maybe you did know it. I don't know. But so things hit the market, and so how certain do we want to be? And we can afford to be certain because we have more cash and we could tie it up that way. But I'm trying to defer to the experts. I just want to understand the mechanisms we're using. And if it's, hey, prices are high versus historical, yeah, a lot of prices are high versus historical, so I don't know how long they stay or don't stay. But I think it's worth having us understand how it works. So I know it sounded more negative than it was intended to be.
The other part of it that's on my mind is the risk of it going up.
Yeah.
So timing it going down or predicting it going down, but also, if you're not certain about that, but you don't think there's any risk of it going higher, that would affect your decision as
Sure.
well. Is that right?
I'm sorry?
One of those unintended consequences of a decision.
I was just saying that in the only variable isn't whether it will go down, but also the risk of it going up, right? The prices.
Right. Right. So, I mean, right now we are, we're kind of hedged 16 months forward fully, right? And so we would continue doing that. So every month we would then kind of add the next month. And then if prices were to come down, we would push that forward 17, 18, 19. Now, if in the review we find out that, well, we don't want that to be 16, we want that to be 20 or 24, and then we adjust from there, that's a topic of discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for Jeff or really anybody with regard to the committee members? Or do you have a couple more pages in the report to go through?
I do. We can go through them or not.
I think that chart is pretty useful that you just got to. So let's go through the chart if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah, this is the last slide here. So we're looking at the top chart there, which is a 5-year graph of spot diesel futures prices, and you can see the dropout there for COVID, and that's when we kind of elongated the portfolio, and then prices have gone up and spiking right after the war in Ukraine started. And that was really a year's worth from February of 22 to Feb of 23 of the global petroleum market figuring out how it was all going to work, because there was a set pattern before that of, where does it come out of the ground? How does it get to where it's going to be, consumed? And that kind of got set on its head there for a while, and that's why prices were very high and very volatile. And so the graph on the bottom is the forward pricing curve. You can see when I took that picture, it was 235 there on the top. And then if we look 3 years forward, that goes down to about 215. So the reason why the forward pricing curve is negatively sloped is because the market perceives a relative low level of inventories versus demand expectations. So people are willing to pay up for the certainty of supply in the short term. This is actually a sort of a happy place for the long side hedger like we are, because we get to buy hedges further forward into the future that are at prices lower than what's being paid at the pump today. So that's how that works. Back during COVID, that curve was the other way, very positively sloped, because there was so much inventory, and the forward pricing curve reflects the cost of financing for that inventory.
So if it's a happy scenario further out, should we be hedging further out?
Yeah, I mean, we can, however far out you want to go, we can hedge, right? But then, as I mentioned, you're looking at your need to hedge that far forward. If you decide that having 2 years forward or 3 years forward at all times certainty is valuable to your organization, we can adjust to make that happen. The thing that we don't want to do is be doing significant hedges when we're spiking to $4 and $5 a gallon. So we want to avoid those things. And so, adjustments can be made. However, the general idea really should remain.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Absolutely,
Thanks
my
for being
pleasure.
here. Any other comments or questions? Okay, great. No voting. KZ?
I really appreciate the question because it helped me to better understand. Not that I really understand what's going on. But hedging doesn't determine who the supplier will be.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's independent of the supplier. So you can change the supplier so long as the supplier is delivering fuel to you on a variable price basis that goes up and down every day, then that works.
Yeah, Casey, it really is, yeah, certainty, right? And so that as you're trying to figure out your costs going forward, you know what they are, as opposed to being at the risk of the market. I think the reality is a lot of times the market's going up and down, and trying to time it perfectly almost, it's why we have index funds and stocks, right? But the thing, there's another variable too. We got caught in, some agencies particularly got caught in COVID times when they started cutting service, and suddenly they didn't need much fuel either. So that's a little bit of a wild card. I know that's why we don't fully always hedge, is because if we find a situation where we're not driving as many buses or something, you still have to buy the fuel, right? So that you might not need. So there's a few of those variables, but I think it's important as we think our way through is it better to have some certainty longer out, or is it better to try to, would I pay 20 cents a gallon more for that? We might, right? We have to decide it. So, but I appreciate, and I didn't mean to put you on, but it's good for us to understand.
Craig, you just really quickly, you do raise one very important point, which is the amount of fuel that we hedge is directly related to the amount of fuel that we believe that we're going to use 24 or 36 months in the future. And that service model can be impacted by all kinds of things that haven't been determined. So if you are over-hedged and then you're not using that fuel during COVID, transit systems found themselves in positions trying to unload fuel
so we got
and
better
took
prices at that point.
significant losses on that unloading that was not budgeted.
Yep.
So just a point of clarification.
Yep.
One last question. Do we need to put a policy in for gasoline with the changes in our infrastructure coming?
You mean for the metro now?
Yeah.
I don't know how much that we think is how much we're gonna buy.
Let us take a look at that
Yeah.
and come back.
Something to
this
think about.
committee and have a conversation.
Yeah. And I think what's nice is, right, we have cash, we have these things, we can be more careful of what we do. So it's all worthwhile.
Thanks again, Jeff.
Alrighty.
Okay, so nothing to vote on with that item. The next items are our internal and external audits. Julie Baird is our internal accountant, and she's going to present the results of the audits.
Good morning, everybody.
Julie, just real quick, I just wanted to share with the group that Norman Bowie is our Director of Internal Audit. He is actually out of the office today, and so as a consequence of his personal schedule, I've asked Julie Beard to pinch hit in presenting his presentation. Thank you, Julie.
All right. So the agenda for the presentation is going to go over the closed audit findings, open audit findings with an expected remediation date. We don't have any currently open audit findings without a remediation or a plan, and our current and upcoming audits. So we'll start with the closed audit findings. These were performed by our external auditor, Clark Schaefer Hackett. Go to the next slide. So the first audit involved vendor management, and the finding that we had was documenting and monitoring the activities. So we've worked to resolve that, and the remediation of this one, and actually the number 2 one, which was remediation process for non-compliant vendors. It became complete with the hiring of Ruth Reed, the vendor performance analyst in procurement, and she is currently developing a program to manage the contract and vendor performance. So we've taken care of those two. The third one was centered around the paratransit services and ADA compliance, and we have developed a customer handbook, and we have printed that and mailed that to all their paratransit customers, so that has satisfied our requirement for that particular finding. If we want to go to the next page.
Can I ask a question? I think, I don't mean to be sort of person where maybe I'm just grumpy today. Those don't feel closed. They feel like in process to be closed. So I don't think I'd call them closed, right?
Well, for the audit findings, we've met the
Activity that will address it.
what we needed to do to close that on an audit. But yeah, this
Not
is
that the
ongoing.
action is done. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a process that we've put in place to not get ourselves back in that same situation. So from an audit perspective, they are closed. So the fourth one centered around advertising and social media, and the monitoring of the shelter and bus maintenance. Adsposure, who is our current vendor, will no longer be providing service to our shelters and bench, stemming from city ordinances regarding marketing in these areas. Procurement is currently engaged with new potential vendors and will be monitored and held accountable to standards monitored by Ruth Reed, our vendor performance analyst. The next two centered around the hourly payroll. The first one was the exception review and approval process. And the second one related to the hourly payroll was the operator's pick selection approval process. And the transit ops department created internal audit procedures. These were issued on March 31st of this year, and they took effect on April 17th, 2023. So we just needed to get those processes documented and in place. So that takes care of number 5 and number 6. Number 7 also related to the hourly approval, and it was the time approval by the operators. And again, that was documented in the internal audit procedures created by the transit ops team. The last one for the closed findings deals with our business continuation and disaster recovery plan. Pat Giblin, our Senior Director of IT, is going to come up when I'm finished and will explain in detail how we're handling this moving forward. So our next section deals with our open audit findings with expected remediation dates. The first one is the advertising and the social media. And the advertisement and the installation and the removal of the decals on the buses. So maintenance has created a fleet quality and appearance and specialist position. They are currently monitoring the portal and clearing issues with adsposure. And we are working on a new updated SOP that will be available by the end of the third quarter of this year. The second and third items deal with maintenance audit. One is the policies and procedures. Maintenance is currently reviewing the current SOPs in order to build a live document, and this should be ready to go by the end of the third quarter of this year. And the last one with the labor cost records, maintenance and IT are working together to finalize a reporting structure, and we're hoping to have this done by the end of August.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Did you say Pat was going to?
Yeah, I have 2 more just current and upcoming audits. 2 are being done internally, 2 are being done by Clark Schaefer Hackett. The first is a Riverfront Transit Center parking that we're doing internally. We're wrapping this up, and the final report should be ready for the next quarterly presentation. The staffing levels and the succession planning, that's being done by Clark Schaefer Hackett. We had an official kickoff meeting on July 5th, and the time frame of completion was shifted back a couple weeks due to internal and external vacations. We are finalizing a last few procedures that shifted the field work back a couple weeks, so we're looking to have that completed in Q4. Accounts payable will be done internally. We'll start that after the RTC parking audit is complete. And the last one is the investments being performed by Clark Schaefer Hackett. We're going to have a kickoff meeting mid to late August, and our goal is to be wrapped up before we start the CRO 2023 external audit. So I'm going to turn it over to Pat. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning, Pat.
Everyone likes to talk about IT, right? Just to kind of summarize, our disaster recovery plan is how we recover if there's a problem. So what we've done is we've conducted a review and had an external facilitator walk us through an exercise where we evaluated all of our Tier 1 applications, and those are those things critical to us running the business. Things like our RCC, or the dispatch center, and the communication to and from the buses, our transit operation environment, our maintenance, certainly things like payroll and time and attendance are Tier 1 applications. It's not to say anything else is less important or that the benefits that we generate by implementing newer system don't benefit the other applications. These are the key ones that we reviewed. All systems have been reviewed with our business owners. So part of the process is sitting down with those stakeholders and your people in operations and maintenance and others, and looking at two critical factors. One, the mean time to recover. How long can the business be without that system and solution? And the recovery point objective. How much data are they willing to lose? So that dictates how we, set up those systems to be able to recover. It'll drive our decisions in the case of a disaster or a system outage to say they don't want to lose this amount of data, but they want to be back up in this amount of time. What we may do is we may work to remediate and bring the system back up before we implement a disaster recovery plan, because we will be able to get those systems back up and we don't want to lose the data. Next slide.
I'm going to ask you a difficult. So I know it may be different per system. What's the general? You define those things, but you didn't tell us what targets we set.
The targets are different across every one of those applications. The most critical system is our RCC. It's our regional command center. It's the communications to and from the bus. And that's the only one that's really measured into hours. Because when you start talking about system resiliency and recoverability, cost is like a hockey stick. So a lot of people would talk about 5 nines. I want 5 nines. I can never be down. Very few environments can afford to never be down. And if you look at the economic benefit of whether one of our systems is up or down, you trace back to where your revenue is coming from, and a system outage doesn't have that big of a financial impact. So it doesn't make a lot of sense.
I wasn't arguing that you have the wrong objectives. I just don't know what they are.
Oh, yeah, no. They vary dramatically. And those aren't set by IT. Those are set by the business. So we meet with each department and system owner. So, for instance, we run Maximo for enterprise asset management. The system owners are both, procurement too, because procurement, we leverage it for procurement, but our maintenance department. How long can that maintenance department be without that? So most of those outages are measured in days based upon our thresholds. So the process of this was, I'll go back. The process was basically a workshop. So we reviewed with these business stakeholders the solutions we currently had in place and their ability to recover based upon their recovery point objectives. And we found that all of our solutions, both technical, so those are the solutions that we support, as well as contractual. Everybody's aware that we have cloud solutions. We make sure that the SLAs behind those cloud solutions and what those vendors are doing support those recovery points. And we found all of those were in place. Now, the benefit is we identify, how do we keep this fresh? This is a never-ending process, so we wanted to focus on process improvement. So we found some, low-hanging fruit that we're implementing to make our systems better. But as well, we'll have a continuous process around doing tabletop exercises, upgrading some of our solutions to get easier management and quicker recovery. And we've implemented, as part of this, we'd already implemented this, we're going to take more advantage of it, a co-location. So every system that we run internally, we can replicate between here and a third party, what's called a third party co-location data center that's north of the city, outside of downtown, and not as subject to the same environmental issues or whatever. but still redundantly connected to our network. Any questions?
Greg?
Always great. I think it's great. And I think the tabletop's great too, because often what you find in these situations is it's not so much that it's when do you implement the plan, to your point, or who do you call, or Daryl's back on vacation again, you can't find him, who can say yes to something. But I think it's great. Thanks. Good work.
All right, thank you.
I have a question about
Yeah.
with the previous presentation. So not necessarily you, Pat. Not
Julie?
sure if you can answer it. Who was the other lady? Julie, Miss Julie. So how frequent are the audits performed? Is it annual or?
I can speak to that, Julie. We have a schedule where most audits are done. It depends on, again, the level of risk. The higher the risk, that's an annual process. The lower the risk, those audits happen every 2 or 3 years. Norman Bowie, our Director of Internal Audit, has a multi-year plan that we work through and a whole list of audits that drive the scope of work for Norman throughout the year. And each year, every couple of years, we start with a risk assessment where with Clark Schaefer, they come to Metro and we go through a series of interviews and with their external expertise, identify top risks for organizations and make sure that's reflected in that multi-year plan.
The with regard to the vendor management, the findings there, those were the initial findings in 2019? The initial findings were in 2019, so almost 5 years ago. So when these vendors are awarded at times significant amounts of, I have not had coffee yet, significant amounts of money. And it is imperative that, when they're getting those dollars, of course, those are tied to deliverables.
Sure.
And so when we run afoul or we are not monitoring and holding them accountable to those deliverables that they said, then that is, in essence, costing us money.
Yeah.
So I guess my only concern is was there a lead up? If the status is that we're just now this year rolling out these monitoring strategies, what was going on for the past 5 years with a finding like this? Because to me, that just looks like dollars.
So that's a great question. Prior to hiring our vendor performance analyst, contract oversight was a partnership between the project management and the procurement team. So we still have a project manager who paid for goods or services that was holding that contractor accountable. That project manager might be a maintenance expert or an operations expert or an IT expert, but they're not necessarily a contract management expert. So this, as you can see, the finding was there's no formalized documentation monitoring contracts for the organization. So it's essentially a secondary level of oversight with somebody who has the expertise to monitor contract compliance. We went through a series of fits and starts in terms of identifying, sourcing, hiring. And we actually, had some turnover in that process that delayed the onboarding of the individual. So we haven't had a situation of a significant breach of contract that we've had to bring back to the board. This is above and beyond that the auditors notice we can make an improvement. And so that's why we've gone down this path.
And I also want to mention that it was the reason that we implemented a department internally to do internal audits as well as using Clark Schaefer for external audits. We're auditing a lot more today than we were. It was the whole blocking and tackling, so that it's not just the audits that we're doing with Clark Schaefer. We're doing at least twice as many audits because we now have an internal audit department.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else other than Chelsea's questions? We're good? Okay. Nothing to vote on for that. Thanks again for the report out. Now I'd like to turn the microphone over to Larry to talk about our financial results as of June 30th.
Good morning. We'll be talking through the statement of operations for June of 23, our investment balance update, in addition to summary comments on the investment funds reserve. Turning the page to number 4, we see this chart is intended to help project our history around our fair revenue components over the last 3 months. Of particular note, I'll draw your attention to some of my previous comments on around CPS. We'll note that we've got a second data point in the month of June where CPS is essentially in the red, and the question must be asked, why is that? First off, there is no budget in the month of June for CPS. And secondly, this is the basically an acknowledgement of an overbilling associated with extracurricular pass revenue that's been taken into income over the last several months. And so we collaborated with enhanced management reporting with CPS to give us a better feel based on actual student activity, which was primarily a function of the utilization by extracurricular passes by 9th through 12th graders. There's a contractual provision that essentially states that extracurricular passes for 9th through 12th graders are to be complimentary given the fact that they have already purchased a smart card. And so based on that contractual provision, we in essence have refunded the extracurricular pass revenue that was erroneously associated with the 9th through 12th grade population that had been billed and received in prior months during 2023. Craig, you've got a look on your face that suggests.
I'm just trying to do math in my head real fast.
Okay.
So the 7th and 8th graders have the yellow bus contracts in place.
The contractual provision for 7th and 8th graders suggests that we would be compensated $38.50 per pass for a 7th and 8th grader. As we know, 7th and 8th graders are not primarily transported by Metro. And so in acknowledgement of that reality, that would be the appropriate basis to bill CPS. And so what happened erroneously in 23 is we billed CPS for extracurricular passes that were used by 9th through 12th graders. But based on the contractual provision, we should not have done that.
They had regular bus passes.
That's correct. That's correct. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next page. We see here a fair amount of stability associated with our operating expenses over the 3-month period. The only thing that really jumps out at me off the page is in the other bucket, which is the bar in the red. And that really is a function of timing associated with advertising and promotion spending, which we expect to come back in the months to come. But we do note a $200,000 plus reduction month over month in spending in that particular line item. Turning the page to our summary. Looking at total revenue for the month, we came in at $23 million, which is favorable to budget, $5.4 million. Total expense came in at $12.3 million, which is favorable to budget, $266,000. All of that yielded a surplus for the month of $10.7 million, which is favorable to budget, $5.7 million. And I'll get into some details on that. Ridership for the month, just slightly shy of 1 million, which is still favorable to budget, approximately $17,000 riders. Looking at revenue as a key component to our bottom line results for the month of June, total fares came in at $1.2 million, which is favorable to budget, $236,000. CPS contract revenue for the previous comments made is actually unfavorable to budget by a like amount. Non-transportation continues to be favorable to budget, which we've traced and articulated previously as a function of the returns associated with our investment portfolio. County sales tax, actually a bright spot here, has rebounded. So the third month that we've actually received actual cash receipts for 2023 puts us back in the black. We do have some optimism that the market is going to continue to pay a positive dividend there. So we're optimistic that we'll be, again, at least hitting budget and optimistically favorable to budget in the months to come around county sales tax. Federal grants for the month came in at $10.9 million, which is favorable, $5.1 million. This is a function of an agreement that we made with Claremont County to utilize to tap into some underutilized funding that they were unable to take advantage of based on the original UZA or urbanized area allocation of funding. And so based on that agreement, we actually were able to tap into $5.1 million, which is a key contributor to the favorability to budget as far as our surplus is concerned during the month of June.
does that create any kind of, do we owe them that money? That's
No.
ours free?
No. The biggest characterization would be it's a function of timing, okay? And so based on the total calculation of the UZA, there will be some impact during the next cycle, okay, associated with our 5307 funding. But in the aggregate, this is a positive to the agency.
And had we not received those funds would have gone back to the federal government?
Yes. I mean, nobody wants that to happen, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Not Claremont County, not the UZA in the aggregate,
Right.
or anything like that. Andy, as our resident expert on the subject, do you want to opine on anything else?
That's correct. This came about during the debt limit negotiations in D.C. There was a threat that COVID-era funding was going to be swept, and our UZA got together and identified unobligated COVID-era money, about $5 million of which was at CTC, and we pulled that ahead and pulled it into our operation. We're able to digest it and use it for operating. And again, as Larry said, that will impact our calculation for next year's allotment of funds. So there's really no net harm to the UZA or to SORTA. It's just a timing issue.
Turning the corner, looking at expenses, just a couple quick comments here. Wages and benefits came in at $9.2 million, favorable to budget, $151,000. And then the all other bucket comes in at $1.6 million, which is favorable, $229,000. Key drivers there revolve around advertising and promotion expense at $65,000 favorable, in addition to underutilized expense during the month of June for external vendors supporting the project and innovation function. But again, we expect those costs to be normalized over the course of the remaining 6 months of the year. That concludes my summary comments on the P&L.
Thank you, Larry. Any questions or comments? Okay. Let's move right into the investment of fund reserve summary, please.
Okay. This next report captures the detail associated with our investment of funds reserve summary. At the top, we account for $161.8 million portfolio of our investment funds on the Metro side at a 4.46 weighted average yield, which is up approximately 8 basis points from the prior month. The center section of the report highlights again our ongoing set-asides that are intended to speak to the various business needs of the agency. Again, continuing to make provision for BRT, continuing to make provision for 2 months of operating expense, and then there's a summary figure associated with some of the minor obligations with the agency. Looking at the bottom line, we're basically looking at $38.9 million, which again is a function of our operating results to date, in addition to projected budget surpluses over the next 6 months in the aggregate. So $38.9 million, that is a fairly significant bump from the prior period, the month of May that we reported. Again, looking at the key drivers and the comments that I've shared thus far, heavily impacted by the $5.1 million rounded that we picked up from the Claremont County UZA, and making another adjustment in a set-aside figure that we no longer have to make provision for in going forward. Okay. Those are my comments on the investment reserve summary. Any questions?
I guess the
That's
question,
great.
do you accelerate any of these capital projects? Because we have $38 million of unrestricted funds, but.
Well, again, let's be careful in how we represent that. The $38 million is intended to set the foundation for how we would respond to multiple capital projects in the years to come, and the local match that would be a function of those projects. Okay?
Right, I would say this could be the local match for those things, but yeah, does it give you an advantage to try to get funds that other people don't? But we're saying the same thing. I
Okay.
think.
Okay.
Yeah, not to mention the redo of the garage is going to be
Yeah, right.
extremely expensive.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, KZ. KZ?
They do it right as they do now.
We was talking about hedging. I will make sure I understand it again. Going back, Larry, sorry, you were saying that for the month of June, 22,000 spent for hedging. It was in the last slide you showed.
22,000 spent for hedging. I believe that was the the unfavorability.
Was that, okay,
That was the unfavorability relative to budget for the month of
oh,
June.
okay, okay.
Yes. Okay.
But it all ties together, Casey, right? So that our cost is really based on what we've hedged to and our usage of fuel.
Okay.
So versus the budget tries to anticipate those
It's
things.
favorable to budget, okay, all right.
Okay, thank you, Larry. So the action item here is we need to approve the investment of funds report as submitted by Larry and read through. I'll put forth a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
The second is heard. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you, Larry, for reporting out. Larry,
Yes.
approve the TIF? Okay, where? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. So the investment for Metro was one of the reports, and then the second is the approving of the TIF. And I'll entertain a motion, or I'll put forth a motion to approve the TIF funds. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Chelsea, second. All those, Larry?
Maybe I could just ask, can you flash on the screen the investment report? Just continue to scan down so the group can see the TIF results for the month. Continue to scan down. There should be a second page specifically for the TIF, for the Transit Infrastructure Fund results.
And that's this
That's
one.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that shows 52.7?
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just ran right over that. So I put forth a motion to approve the TIF funds. Chelsea seconded. It's the second page on the action item. You see it there? You see it?
Yeah, I see.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the funding is approved. Thank you all for that. Is there any other business that we need to cover today? Craig?
Yeah, I always have a question, right? I know we improved these, but I guess 200,000 is what we spent, what we reimbursed for projects from the TIF last month. That's what this is telling me.
200,000.
That it says provided payouts during June.
Yes.
96,000.
That's correct. Yes,
I
yes.
rounded.
Right. A modest amount.
Yeah, we're approving 40 million, which would be, divide that by 12, more than 200,000, right? So I just don't know, are the projects happening, or they're just not asking us for money, or?
I think that speaks to continued opportunity for the municipalities to actually make a request for
Yeah.
reimbursement. Haled, is there any detail that you would like to provide in response to that question?
I just want to make sure the projects continue to move forward. That's all.
There's also timing between, they put in their application, we award it, and once we award the application, they then go out and do the bids
Yeah.
for
I get
the
it. Some of these
construction.
are 2 years old, though.
Yes.
It's remarkable how little they're asking us for.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it means the projects aren't moving forward very fast, or.
So we're talking about the pot of money available through the TIF program that we introduced, and all these jurisdictions submitted applications, right? Got approved, and
Yes.
now they have not submitted other than the 196, they have not submitted for reimbursement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So
in June, that's how it worked. But
we are also planning an update to this board of the projects and which ones are completed and work that's done on them. We're going to be bringing pictures to this committee next month of the projects. I think you guys are going to be really, really excited to see the projects that these dollars are going to fund and the difference it's making in the community. We're bringing
No
that
doubt
to you
the
next
people in
month.
the communities are excited about it.
Yes.
So, Haled?
Including
Yes.
our people.
There you- even then. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as Darrell said, I mean, once the contracts were signed, they still had to go bid out and finish the design work and then bid the contracts out, and that takes some time. But we have been receiving invoices. I've been personally approving these invoices. I think by next month or the following month, once these numbers are updated, I think don't quote me on this yet, but I think we've already approved over $2-3 million in invoices so far. We expect the frequency of these invoices to increase moving forward because many of these projects are already underway, but they haven't billed us yet. But things, and we're really excited to share with you the pictures in the next month meeting. They're having a major positive impact on these communities.
Yeah, I think it's great. My fear is you get some some community is going to say they're out of money because they've spent and haven't been reimbursed, and they wouldn't, they give you a request on Monday and then say,
Yeah.
Tuesday they announced they haven't been paid, but you know what I mean.
It's been going very, very smoothly, and we expect probably the next six months or so that we'll be receiving invoices way more frequently than right now.
Good.
And Craig, just one more comment to underscore that we have collaborated with the Planning and Innovation Department with accounting, and we have got a very tight process around turnaround. And so it is not for a lack of attention to
No,
detail
I
on being
believe it,
able to
right? I
make
think
the
it's them
payment.
not asking us for the money.
That is exactly, that's the point I
But
wanted
it's
to
just
make.
how the story comes out,
Yeah.
you never can control that, so.
Thank you.
I'm curious, understanding our bread and butter will be in ridership and seeing that consistently rising over the last several months, which will be good for us in the future. But can you attribute that to anything? The ridership increases? People getting back to normal after COVID, you're doing something intentional?
All of the above. The new service that we've put out, because we've added 24-hour service, we've added a number of crosstown routes. Our marketing efforts are paying dividends. We're finding people are using, more people are using the bus, not just for work, but for other things. So our marketing programs are working. The new service we're putting out is working. One of the things Aled always talks about when we're talking to people is the routes that we've made the biggest adjustments to have the biggest ridership increases. So, you know, the routes that we added a ton of frequency, we've got one route that's 200% of pre-pandemic ridership. We've got one that's 170% of pre-pandemic ridership. So the service we're putting out is the service that the community has asked for and it needs, and they are responding to the new service we're putting out. We've also got a lot of marketing efforts out there, and we believe they're paying dividends. And again, we're one of the few, and I believe there's only about 3 or 4 transit agencies in the country that are above 100% of pre-pandemic ridership. And it's all of those things combined that's helping drive our ridership, we believe.
And Taylor Swift.
Yeah, and maybe an asterisk. An asterisk
No, because that was
with the Taylor
in
Swift
June.
effect.
July, yeah.
May I?
Yeah.
I just really just want to commend the board, thank you, the board and the staff and the drivers, because even today, I was talking to one of the drivers. His name is Jimmy Carter. He drives the 11, who brought me here today. And as we're coming up, the car just decides to go all the way around and jump in front of the bus to get into the parking lot, and he caught it. We're all safe, you know, and I'm just saying we have an extremely great staff, and the drivers are more than enough. I'm telling you, they are on top of it and beyond. And so I just wanted to mention his name in particular, who drives the 11, but I've encountered this with other drivers over the years, and we're doing better and better. And you're right. We are doing the right thing, and people are responding. I just wanted to shout that out because we need to say it, and we need to say it loud, and we need to pat ourselves on the back, and we need to pat all of you guys on the back, and especially the drivers who are doing, this is a crazy job driving a bus.
Yeah.
You know, and I just want to just give them some kudos, because we just need to shout that out and shout it to the world, and put it in all of our reports and everything. And so, again, I say to you, board, and to you, staff, and to those who are out driving, keep on, keep it on.
Thank you very much for that. We have some amazing operators here. And I noticed John did write his name down. We'll reach out and make sure he gets an accommodation for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That concludes the Finance Committee meeting, and I will turn the microphone over to Blake.
Thank you very much. Let's go right into planning and ops. And I think we have an item on the agenda that directly relates to celebrating all our staff. But before we can get to that, we do have minutes and good news and a number of other briefing items. We always want to thank Rod for being here.
Shut up. That's not that movie talk.
So I trust everybody's been able to review the minutes. Any questions or concerns? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes for last month.
So moved.
Second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say left. Any abstentions? All right. Minutes are good. Good news. I think, John, you kick us off, but we got a lot of players in here. So,
Yes,
take it
sir.
away.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'll thank Robert for the segue for recognizing the good work of our employees. We'll start with the most recent employees of the month. Adrian, please.
Good morning. Okay, again, recognizing our May Silver Wheel Award winners. We're going to start with Bond Hill Maintenance employee Steve Hill. Steve, is being commended for his excellent work during the remodel of the access facility recently. He performs extra duties beyond normally being assigned, those that are normally assigned to him. It shows his high level of dedication, and Steve's a team builder and always contributes to the positive work environment. And then following up on that, we have Tony Brinkdopke. He is the ADA and Accessible Services Manager at Access, and is being commended for his exceptional commitment and contributions to the successful launch of our Metro Now campaign. His performance during the launch was described as impeccable. His troubleshooting skills, his team tremendously appreciated all the work and efforts he put forward. He led effectively and collaborated with the various groups because it was a cross-functional group of employees and team that helped to pull off the launch of Metro Now. So congratulations to Tony. Next we have Queensgate maintenance employee Dan Elfers. Dan has been touted as passionate about his work and always creates a positive work environment, goes above and beyond what's expected of him, and is always willing to help others. And the quote is, he is truly a dedicated Metro employee. So again, congratulations to the Silver Wheel winners thus far. Moving on to Bond Hill Transportation, we have Michaela Wiley. Michaela understands her job and provides great customer service to our customers, performs high quality work, and is very dependable. She had in May OTP of 93.9%, 0 absences, and 0 customer service complaints, 0 disciplinary actions. So congratulations, Michaela, and we hope to have many, many, many more employees with those types of stats. Next, we have our own Natalie Cruisling. So Natalie is our admin and employee. So congratulations to Natalie. Natalie is being recognized for her commitment and dedication to our Adopt a Class program that we launched. And she recruited all the team members, all the volunteers for Metro, coordinated snacks and activities for the kids when they would visit the school. She put a lot of time, effort, and energy into that activity, and that leadership was recognized by many. She got several award nominations from several people who wanted to recognize her. We got an award during the event as well, and she brought up, because of the person she is, the whole team. When everybody else took up just themselves when they were called up by the school, she brought up everybody with her because she recognizes the value of team. And we're really excited to have her as part of our team. And congratulations on her new role, which I don't know if we've announced that yet.
We have.
Thank you so much.
And then finally, we have Orlando King. So he's our Queensgate transportation operator, and Orlando should be recognized by many of you as he is on many of our buses, much of our advertising. He has been a very dependable employee, never misses work, has had OTP of on-time performance of 97% in May. Orlando is just someone with a great demeanor, communication. The customers love him. He really interacts well with them, and he is exemplary with how he wears his uniform. And again, we use him as an example on lots of our advertising and marketing materials. So congratulations to the May Silver Wheel winners.
Thank you, Adrian. Continuing with the celebrations and recognition, June again was Safety Month, celebrated at Metro, and it finished with our premier safety event, the annual Safety Awards Luncheon. We held it at the American Sign Museum, which if you have not been, I highly recommend. A beautiful, fun facility. We had a terrific event. Speakers celebrated our safety achievements. We also featured a keynote speaker, Rocky Boyman. I apologize for the Super Bowl NFL player typo. It should say Notre Dame grad. Again, I apologize. We'll get that. Yeah, but I'm bearing the lead here. We celebrated 2 inductees into the 2 Million Mile Award Club. Criteria as established and recognized by the National Safety Council. That is the equivalent of driving, or the achievement, 30 years driving without a preventable accident, the equivalent of about 2 million miles. Congratulations to operators Mark Stola and Monica Hawkins for an absolutely,
Can't drive 5
2 million miles. Outstanding achievement.
Would never get that award.
I know, it's amazing.
We also had a visit from national and regional FTA officials in June to learn more about our BRT plans. And we got a chance to show them the corridors themselves. So to actually ride the buses, see the communities, see the opportunities for improved transit, and then how that will also add to the vitality of the areas, the corridors that those routes will serve. They also provided very valuable and insightful NEPA training to make sure that we're prepared for the environmental elements for the project. So on the heels of that visit, very quickly, we got news that we're also very pleased to share that the FTA has approved for us to enter into the next phase, the project development phase for BRT. So very good momentum here for this key strategic initiative. With that, I'd like to invite Khaled up to talk about how Metro is playing and impacting transit on a global stage. Khaled.
Delta, you want to say a couple of things first? Buenos dias.
Oh, go ahead.
Nailed it. Excellent.
All right. So Darren and I had the pleasure of joining APTA on a study mission to Spain. We went to Madrid, Valencia, and Barcelona, where we met with officials there, visited their facilities, and learned more about their transit systems. The group consisted of just over a couple dozen people from U.S. or from North America, included CEOs from other agencies, as well as the heads of APTA, and the FTA administrator, Nuria Fernandez, and 3 of her staff as well. So it was a great, learning opportunity. It was extremely tiring too, and really it was. But it was an excellent learning experience. But equally important was, the connections with Nuria and her staff, and they did indeed give us like few pointers regarding our BRT applications and how to proceed with the CIG filings and so on. So creating these connections was extremely beneficial. And at Barcelona, we also attended the UITP conference. UITP is APTA, but the global APTA at the global level. So it's the International Association of Public Transit Authorities across the world. Great stuff there. Both Dara and I had heartburns because we pay about $700,000 for a bus here, diesel. In Europe, you can get a Mercedes for $330,000. And electric buses, we pay 1.2 million. You can get it in Europe for 500,000. A Mercedes one too. So that didn't settle well with us, nor with the rest of the study group. But there were great things that we learned from the conference. Daryl?
We got the opportunity to visit several of their transit agencies there and see how differently they do things than we do things here. It was a very, very interesting trip. And when he says tiring, we meet at 7:30 in the morning and we finished at 10:30 at night, almost every day. Really, really good trip for us.
All right. Thank you both. Brandy has some exciting news to share regarding the Taylor Swift impact on Metro and transit, and a very good story related to the concert, and also some more updates about Metro happenings over the summer. Brandy.
Good morning. In case you have not heard, Taylor Swift came to Cincinnati, and Metro got in on the action, and we were so grateful for the opportunity to be able to help make some dreams come true for children in foster care. And we partnered with the Hamilton County Children's Services to transport more than 50 youth on Metro to and from the concert both nights. So, and we got a really lovely letter afterwards from their service project lead who wanted to thank our team. Just a quick excerpt here said, we provided Beyond Their Imagination program last week, and we couldn't have asked for a better service from our drivers and our supervisor. They were prompt, courteous, and flexible, and got us to and from the concert safely and easily, and that she appreciated the efforts to make this happen, and it made a big impact on the experience we were able to provide our youth. So this is just a snapshot of how significant public transportation plays a role in the lives of so many in our community, including helping these very deserving youth enjoy one of their idols, I'm sure, with Taylor Swift, and watching the performance. Our service that weekend also saw a nice little bump. On Friday, we saw an 18% increase and a 19% on that Saturday. And also here are two snapshots from Twitter of individuals posting about just how easy it was to use our service. Here we see a packed full bus of Swifties heading to and from the show. I think the post here says somewhere in Cincinnati, there's a bus full of Swifties trying to get to their cars. It's me, I'm a Swiftie. So this is a lot of fun. Everyone really enjoyed it, and our service had a great opportunity to shine. And we are rolling into our 50th anniversary month with skating parties. What is more 70s than skating? And so we have sponsored the roller rink in partnership with 3CDC. So this weekend, which perfectly aligns with the Cincinnati Music Festival weekend, you can come down and enjoy some evenings or days of skating. It's beginning on Thursday in coordination with the 50 Years of Hip Hop celebration happening at the Andrew Brady Center on Thursday. On the Court Street, you can, before you go to the show, you can do 50 Years of Hip Hop with Metro. And so we'll have a hip hop themed skate party on Thursday from 7 to 10. And then Friday, 6 to 10, it is a 70s themed skating party. So dust off your bell bottoms and put on your fun gear. And we'll have 70s themed music and a DJ there playing all kind of hits from that period. So that should definitely be a lot of fun. And then on Saturday, noon to 4 is Family Day. So please bring out the kiddos and enjoy the skating party. And also on Friday, we're 50% of the cost to skate. So in theme of our 50, you'll get 50% off your skate rental and admission. So it only costs you a couple of bucks. And we are promoting this in partnership with 3CDC. So you'll see all types of ads around Washington Park and everywhere else. And we'll also have one of our Metro Now vehicles parked down there. So people who come to partake can also check out the new service.
Blake says his outfit from previous skating days still fits, so medium would be great.
Send us lots of pictures, Blake. And then just, so also this weekend, because it's a busy weekend, we can go to the next one. We have partnered with the Hamilton County Commissioners in celebration of the Black Music Walk of Fame unveiling. And we have 2 rap buses that are created in recognition of the inductees from 2022 as well as this year. So they're already out on the road, so hopefully you've seen them. If you have not, look for them. They're really fun. And they'll also be on display during the unveiling event that is happening this Saturday at noon at the Andrew Brady Center. And one more event that's not on the screen, but in recognition of the launch of the second zone of Metro Now that took place on July 11th, we are holding a community celebration on this Sunday, July 23rd in Colerain at the Stone Creek shopping center. We'll be in the parking lot nearest the Best Buy. So we'll have a Metro Now vehicle there. There'll be face painters. 94.9 will be doing a live remote from the scene, and they'll be giving out free pizza. We'll have swag, face painters for the kids. So certainly bring out your friends and family and help us spread the word to invite the community to come and learn about this new service that everyone is really excited about. Thank you.
When is that one in Colerain?
Yes, it is at the Stone Creek Shopping Plaza in Coleraine Township.
When?
It's noon to 3 on this Sunday, the 23rd.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. It's been quite a fun summer at Metro, whether it's been the launch of Metro Now, participating in getting people to the Taylor Swift concert, the Pride Parade, Safety Month, and so much more. Thank you to everybody that has made this happen, including people that volunteered their time late Friday and Saturday, including one Andy Aiello there. We're turning Andy back into an ops guy, working the wee hours, right?
Service for the Swifties, for sure.
Right.
Anything for that.
Well done. Mr. Chair, that's the news.
Thank you very much. Lots of great news. Absolutely amazing. Let's move on to service quality and ridership initiatives. Is that you, Andy?
Yeah, thank you. If you want to go to the next slide, Natalie. As you all know, this is an update, as we typically do every quarter, on our service quality and ridership initiatives. At the beginning of 2023, we looked at our kind of current state of affairs and set some pretty ambitious goals in terms of our operating quality and also ridership. You can see the goals there. Top line is that we want to try to improve our reliability with respect to missed trips, and we want to continue to grow ridership. Many of the other metrics are essentially feeders to those top line results, right? On the next slide, our approach, just to remind you, is that we defined a set list of initiatives that we thought we could move forward to help move the needle, so to speak, on these KPIs and the metrics. We've been tracking very closely those initiatives, assigning leads, setting deadlines, and moving process and projects forward. What we told you when we started this project is that we knew that we were going to find some places within our organization where we needed to shore up some data reliability, or improve and update and I guess hardwire some processes in order to be more analytical in our approach. So those things continue in earnest. Next slide. In terms of attached in your packet, you can see this in more detail, but implementation of all of these efforts is on track. So far to date, we've had 21 different initiatives either up and running and or complete. Some highlights for Q2. Our basically operations department has a KPI team that they have created as a result of this initiative, where they're pulsing together, looking at that next level of granularity of data and really understanding their operational data and getting their arms around it and reporting that up to senior operations leadership. That process is now in its second or third month internal to the operations department, which is helping them identify issues and make some decisions. Our maintenance folks have adjusted the work pick to more accurately reflect the need, and that's included moving some shifts to the weekend, again, to balance that with the needs of the operation and organization. A couple of these points will be covered by Adrienne in her update, but we've increased our leave administration. We've been struggling with absenteeism. We're keeping a closer eye on this, and we've put more resources in the leave administration roles here in the organization. We've begun to collect exit and stay data that hopefully informs our approach to retention of operators. One of the key things that was done is that we went out to the market and through the procurement process identified a new vendor in terms of healthy vending, and so we have more food options at all of our locations now, which is good for our operators. We've actually have a pilot cafe at the Access Division, which provides kind of self-serve healthy options for people, a wide array of options, and that seems to be going very well. If that is successful, that might be replicated at some of the other divisions as well. And then again, some of the safety initiatives that are underway. We had a right side mirror campaign and a space management campaign. A lot of these things are creating structure for these places and then repeating over and over again as we aim for better quality on the system. Results in terms of KPIs, you'll see that in the packet. Natalie, let's go ahead and go to that metric sheet 3.2. The next one. Great. Okay, so you'll see in the metric sheet here, we struggled this summer with missed trips, a kind of an uptick again. You'll notice as we move down through the report, I think it's directly related to our inability to grow our fixed route operator workforce, you can see that remains stubbornly flat. Right below that, that's a direct result of operator turnover. So we're still hiring a number of drivers, and Adrian will report in more detail on this. But retaining has been our biggest challenge in the operator workforce. Bright spot is absenteeism. I think through some of the efforts that we mentioned before, dramatic improvements in absenteeism, and we're on target there. But again, I think the operator turnover metric is the one that remains stubborn, which is, again, as Daryl has said, very common in this industry, but we're trying to buck that trend with all the initiatives that we have in place. So that's essentially the summary. Happy to dig into more details or answer any questions that anybody has.
Do you anticipate any staffing need changes as the school year comes back?
Our natural vacation calendar will help. So June, July, we allow for more vacations from our operators than normally during the year. So even if headcount were the same right now, we would anticipate more operators being back actively at work with the start of the school year. So we plan a lot of our vacation strategies around the academic year.
So staffing, staying steady. So continued metrics in the range.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. We anticipate still missing some trips in the upcoming months. We are fighting really hard to hire and retain. And I like to remind the board, because we all live our daily lives, this isn't unique to us. I think I talked to John last night. Actually, when I left work yesterday, I went to the bank. The bank now closes at 5 o'clock. I don't know what people do that work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Everything's closing earlier. There is a labor shortage in this country like nothing I've ever seen before. And we will figure out how to buck this trend. We will figure it out. We will not stop until we do.
Again, I think Adrian is up next, and I think she can speak directly to some of the initiatives that are going on in that space with the employee relations update.
Could we look back at the OTP real quick? One forward.
One more forward, the other way.
I think 24 maybe.
24. There you go. Zoom in a bit.
So we were at 80, we were a little bit above 80, and we're coming down closer to 77. Any factor on that?
I believe it's a direct result in how many new operators we have. The longer a person is an operator, the higher their OTP is. So when you look at OTP by operators, the operators with seniority have the highest OTP. The newer operators have the lower OTP. And we have a lot of new operators right now.
I don't want to say I missed COVID, but I really enjoyed those OTP numbers and everything back during COVID, like 95 or whatever they were. So.
I'd rather have people riding the bus.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, back
I have
again.
One more question, just as a point of clarification. So if missed trips are up, but absenteeism is down, is the missed trips just a function of like staffing? Like we just don't
Total
have
workforce.
people taking, okay.
Correct.
But people are still coming to work. The ones that we have are coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Okay.
right. And that's a huge help, right? But vacation does not count in absenteeism, right? Vacation is scheduled vacation, as John mentioned, that people put on the books in advance, and they're essentially working the plan for that particular week if they're on vacation. So that doesn't, the absenteeism is when somebody's supposed to show up and they don't.
Yeah.
So again, leave administration, I believe, is helping in that space. But yeah, it's that fixed route operator number that you can see is stubborn.
Yeah.
That I think is contributing. And John has any other?
No, yeah, those are definitely the high level factors. Absenteeism not counting for vacation. You see higher or increasing trends in turnover, decreasing trends in overall active headcount. So that the workforce itself, attendance is improving, but some of these larger factors are impacting how many available operators we do have.
Yeah, thank you.
So you're going to address that in the next presentation?
I'm going to address that.
Take it away.
Okay. So, again, I'm going to talk as much as I can about some of our recruiting efforts, some of the things we're doing just briefly from a retention standpoint. So you may or may not know we've recently hired a new senior manager of talent acquisition and recruiting. She's been with us about 3 weeks. She's got some great ideas. She comes from a trucking-related organization, so she comes from transit. So real excited to have her, Sheena Staten. And so one of the things we're doing of recent, we post to a lot of different job boards. She's identified a couple of new job boards she think would be helpful for us trying to attract passive candidates. And so one of them is RCI and the other is Job Target. And again, these are boards that actually go out with technology. So, and they look at resumes, they look to see who's got information out there, and then they send that information to us and or reach out to them about our opportunities, specifically bus operators, but other opportunities as well. So we're real excited about that. We already utilize quite a few job boards, the LinkedIn's, the Indeeds, things like that. And these are a couple of others she's seen some success with. So we're excited about utilizing those and see what kind of passive candidates they might, drive our way. Next slide, please. Recruiting outreach, we continue to build partnerships with multiple community organizations out there. I mean, I don't think there's one out there that we haven't tried to go out and speak with them, talk to them about our opportunities, build a partnership, have some career fair one-on-one. So as you can see, there are a list of them there that we have actively been working with over the year and or years, because some of these take time to build those relationships, and it's some repetitive action that we have to make and keep going back to try to build the partnerships, especially post-COVID. And so we're real excited about many of these. One in particular is Crown Staffing, which is the first one that is listed there. And they have a strong population of Hispanic individuals. So we're real excited to be partnering with them about opportunities to bring some of those individuals forward into our bus operator and maintenance, as well as other positions. So we're starting to see some success already, not just from them, but from some other things we've been doing long term, which I'll talk about a little bit more. As you can see, there are many organizations there, and again, we're just turning over and partnering with every organization we can find. Next slide, please. Additionally, yes.
I have a question, Ms. Adrian. What does the partnership with the
Can you go back,
with
Natalie?
Butler Tech, Oaks, Ohio Tech, CSU, what does that look like?
So with Butler Tech and with the Ohio Techs, they have programs specific to like maintenance and mechanics. So we've been going out to partner with them for potential mechanics coming right out of school. We recently lowered the age for our maintenance employees to 18 so that we can, as they're coming out of school, be they 18 or 19, we can recruit them right into our program before they go off and find jobs elsewhere. So it's those types of initiatives that we're partnering with them on, their student population.
And what about the library? What is that?
We've been just going to the library with a table, talking about our opportunities, posted up there, passing out our flyers. Again, we're taking every opportunity, and with each of these is a different initiative that we might have. Some of it we're actually going in and doing career fairs. Some of them we're actually going in and actually just passing out information, talking about who we are, setting up a table, and letting folks know that we're hiring. So it just varies from organization to organization. Next slide, Natalie. Additionally, we're always doing recruiting fairs. These are just a few that are upcoming for the rest of the year. We've done multiple throughout the year, but I just wanted to speak to some that are upcoming. We have our operator job fair that we do monthly. And so right now we have what we call our big bus, or a really big career fair that we have. We'll be having that on July 29th at the Queens Gate facility, and we'll be in the parking lot. We'll have tents set up. We'll have buses there. There'll be an opportunity for individuals to actually drive the bus like 50 feet straight ahead, so they can so they can sense what it feels like behind the wheel. We'll have prizes. We'll have food trucks. I mean, it's our big annual operator career fair where we hope to get a huge population of folks to come in, and we actually interview them on site. We make job offers on site. They can even do the application on site if they have to. So we're excited about that. Again, that's July 29th at the Queensgate facility from 10 to 4. And so if you haven't heard, hopefully you have. We've got lots of radio advertising going on. Hopefully you've heard the radio ads that are going on about the career fair that's upcoming. Additionally, there's some other career fairs there that we'll be participating in, some of which we do a couple of times a year, but these are just some of the ones we have upcoming: Job Corps, Superior, Recruit Military. So again, we're constantly making sure we're out there partnering with these organizations, our presence, being present so that they know and can see what it is we're doing. So again, these are some additional outreach opportunities in addition to some of the ones you saw earlier. These are some of the organizations that we've been partnering with to attempt to increase our Hispanic population, and we fortunately have seen our first couple of Hispanic hires for bus operator positions, and we're real excited about that. Additionally, we've got some in the pipeline for some mechanic roles. So we're starting to see some fruits of our labor, and we anticipate as a result of that, we'll be able to hopefully really infiltrate that population a little bit more and attract them into our workforce. So we're real excited about that. And so kudos to Roger, who's been working hard for some time now trying to infiltrate that population and bring them on board. So just real quickly, as we look at our staffing levels from an administrative standpoint, we are working aggressively to fill positions even as we lose people, because we do lose people, fortunately or unfortunately. And so that we have right now about 23 open positions on an administrative level. That does not include all of our bargaining unit type positions. 18 of those positions are currently posted. And so we're actively recruiting for them. We've got offers out on a few of them, as you can see in that last table. So this is an ongoing effort as well. And we've got opportunities. And as Daryl mentioned, this is one of the toughest labor forces I've seen in my many, many years of HR. And so, but we'll continue to fight a good fight, and we'll overcome it. So next slide, Natalie. So next, I just want to talk real quickly about some of our attrition and the trends we're seeing there. So as you can see, in 2022, we hired about 171 operators. We lost 148, and that includes trainees and progression and top operators. So it was a tough year last year. This year so far, we've hired 99, but we actually had a class of 8 start. So we're over 100 in terms of actual operators that we've hired. On pace, we've lost about 59, which is actually trending a little bit better than what we've seen in the past. So if that trend continues, I see our growth I see us really be able to grow that operator workforce if we can continue to trend at lower than what we are hiring at. So we're excited about that because we are seeing some decrease in our attrition levels just a little bit. Next slide. So just, again, I wanted to just show kind of our hires to terms from 22 to 23. So if you look at the slide on the right, because we've already talked about the slide on the left, if you look at the slide there on the right, which talks about our hires and terms for 2023, I just wanted to depict, as we look at the individuals who have left us, the blue indicates that those were individuals in training. So of the 99, 107, whatever the number is, we lost 22 that were still in training at the time they left. And the 37 are those that were in progression or were actual top operators. Now, again, this includes everything from someone who resigned to someone who we terminated to someone who retired. So there are multiple factors that are included in that number, but that's just to give you an idea that we have lost about 59, which is actually not that bad considering where we were at this time last year, which was quite a few more. So next slide. All right. And then Andy mentioned briefly one of the things we are doing that we've talked about is conducting exit and stay interviews. So we now have a vendor on board who is actually going to facilitate that process for us. They will be conducting the new hire surveys and or interviews with and providing us with the retention data. So the exit and stay interviews will consist of multiple attempts to contact individuals who have left us, text messaging, emails, and then they'll be contacting them via phone. So that will be the final attempt. If they cannot get them to respond via the text message and or the email, they will reach out the phone. And I can tell you that we're already starting to see some information come in from them that we'll have to do the analysis on. They do give us a pretty robust database that we get to look at and see exactly what the comments are, what they're saying, why they left for those individuals that they've reached. So what we started with them was we gave them a list of everybody that's left in the last 12 months, minus anybody we terminated, and that's the list they've begun with to start calling and reaching out to those individuals to see if they can get data. So they've been working on that. So again, we do have some data that we've just received literally just a day or so ago. So we haven't even had a chance to do the analysis of it. And then they will do an automatic launch. Can you go back one? Can you go back, Natalie? They'll do an automatic launch of the system. So what happens is as people leave, because they are integrated with our Paycor system, so as someone terminates, they will get the information automatically and they'll begin to contact them automatically. So, and then they will just feed the data back to the dashboard, which will also be integrated into Paycor for our information and records. So we're real excited about that information. Hopefully by the time we come back together, I can give you a full report of the things that we're hearing and seeing and what our retention efforts will be as a result of that, because we do have a retention task force that we're pulling together, which will be cross-functional throughout the areas of the company, and they will actively begin to, based on that information and other information we have, begin to come up with strategies and ideals for us to attack our attrition issues. Any questions?
Are there any other ideas you have or resources you need to continue to work on this project? I mean, you're doing so much.
In terms of the attrition?
Just to support you, because we appreciate everything you're doing.
We appreciate that. I mean, the team is really dedicated. They're out there all the time. They're interviewing constantly. We're partnering with operations to conduct the interviews. We are going to make a concerted effort with the operations team to begin to talk about and address, the onboarding. So once that person comes out of training, what happens to them next? What kind of experience they have from that point forward? Those types of things will make the difference on how people feel, right? Because how you feel is, you might want to come back to work the next day or you might not, depending on what happened that day. So we want to continue to make sure that we support them in every way possible in partnership with operations once they've come out of training to make sure that, they feel their value for us.
I feel like I have to ask this question. I know we've done all these BRT visits and things, so talked to lots and lots of different agencies. I have a feeling I know what the answer is going to be, but any sort of magic that we've heard from any of those that's working really well?
I wish I could say that, but
no. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. In terms of recruiting and retention, I hate to cut a dark answer and say no, but we are doing a lot of things, whether it's these recruiting efforts, looking at the bus operator working conditions. We're almost bringing the answers to the table to others, like try this, try that, look at the job, look at the hours. We'll keep our ears out there. I'm in the business of stealing good ideas. So
I'm
if
assuming,
they're out there, we'll
we
take
asked
them.
the question. Is what
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Every
Both
time.
Opta and APTA, when we get together, it's one of the top subjects, if not the top subject. Everybody's experiencing the same thing. I will tell you, most transit agencies across the country are cutting service to match the number of available operators. We're doing something very different, and I appreciate you acknowledging the hard work. This is tough.
I can't tell you, one of the things that we've done in the last year, maybe year and a half, that we've seen great success with, that has allowed us to even get the numbers we have, is the CLP process. So it used to be that to be hired with us, you already had to have the commercial learner's permit. Now we bring them in and we actually give them a class for a full week where we teach them all the things they need to do to take that test. And we take them out to take the test. We pay for the test, and they get 2 chances to pass it. So we take them out on Wednesday. We take them back out again on Friday or Saturday, because it's a 3-part test. So if they pass one and don't pass the second or third, we take them back out to take the rest. And we've had multiple systems call us and ask us how that is working for us. I can tell you that most of the numbers we have in terms of the hires have come from us bringing people in through the commercial learner permit program. Because in the past, what we saw is, as a part of this selection process, we often lost them when we'd say, okay, go get your commercial learner's permit and then come back. They just oftentimes didn't, because they didn't make the effort on their own, but that has helped us a lot. So we're excited about that.
I'd also like to say that we should do everything we can to help the security and safety of our operators.
Absolutely. Yes.
Had a lot of thoughts about our staff this weekend and what happened. And
Thank you for
I
that.
know that we're always attentive to that, but let's look at it again. Let's see what else we can do to make sure that everybody feels safe as they're operating.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So do we have updates about the drivers?
I went and visited one of the operators last night. He was in good spirits, but of course he's shaken up. I talked to the other operator who's still in the hospital yesterday. He actually said there's been so many people coming in to see him. He just needed to rest, but his spirits seem to be okay. He is also still shaking up. We believe they're going to be fine once they get a chance to heal, but they're still in the hospital. The 2 gentlemen are still in the hospital, and we continue to pray for them.
And we have a very thorough EAP program, employee assistance program, that we offer. So we will make sure once they are in condition and coming out of the hospital that they have that support and counseling they need from our EAP providers. So that's an ongoing effort that's free to them. All they have to do is reach out, and we'll make sure that we even have the EAP providers reach out to them.
And I will tell you, we are prosecuting to the full extent of the law.
Okay, yeah.
This is not okay.
Yeah, that's that.
This is
Yeah,
not
we need
okay.
to show to the drivers that, yeah, we're gonna protect them, but also that
Absolutely.
this will not be tolerated.
This is not okay.
Yeah, okay. So I have to go to memorial service. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you and your team do.
Thank you.
So we're on to para coordination. Matt?
All right, good morning. I just want to provide an update to the Greater Cincinnati Regional Paratransit Coordination Project. I know it's been a couple of months since we gave you an update. But the good news is in Greater Cincinnati, our region, mobility between counties and across jurisdictional lines and all of that is getting easier. Thanks to the hard work of not just the entire Greater Cincinnati Regional Paratransit Coordination team that's working on it, but also the work of board member Robert Harris. So definitely want to thank you for that. In addition to all the transit agencies that are participating in this, we also have, we're up to almost, not quite 40, almost 40 additional partners from human service organizations or social service agencies. So our team is growing and we're making great strides. So in December of 2021, the plan was adopted that had 13 strategies, or as we refer to them as projects, to improve the coordination of paratransit services in our region. I'm happy to report that we have actually accomplished 4 of those strategies. Those are the ones you see here on the screen in green. And we are well on our way to accomplishing more by the end of this year. And I'll talk more about those here on the next couple slides. So with a team as large as the one that we have, one of the most important pieces of that project is being able to communicate effectively and share information effectively with each other. So this is a screenshot you see of our SharePoint site that we've implemented very recently. That's helped us implement 2 of those 4 strategies. This technology has allowed us a platform that is, it makes it much easier for us to share information all in one place, including the contact information for all the other partners that are part of the project. Next slide. So the SharePoint site includes a place where our partners can post resources that they may have available. So as an example, you see on the screen here, the Cincinnati Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired has offered up travel trainers. SORTA has offered expertise in setting up GTFS. That's my name you see up there. So any agency that has a need for that, whether it's just temporary or even ongoing, there's a place for them to reach out or to check and say, hey, who can I reach out to? Where can I get assistance? How can I leverage these partnerships between all of the agencies? And the other thing that's really cool about this site is if there's a need that's not met by something that's already posted, agencies can post a note and ask for, hey, I need, for example, here, I believe that's Catch a Ride out in Indiana, is saying, hey, I need a bronze certified lift inspector, and you've got other agencies saying, hey, I can either provide you with that or here's the resource to do that.
You can describe it.
Keep going. All right. So you've got the presentation in front of you. The next slide, you would see a beautiful screenshot of the share information and best practices screen up there. So what we're trying to do there is really have a place where agencies can share valuable information between them. So for example, we've got our project calendar on there. We've got the status of all the projects. So there's 13 projects. We've got contact information. All the upcoming meetings are posted on there. Documents, reports, meeting minutes, presentations, everything is all in one place. And that really allows, for us to share things. For example, we recently posted our travel trainer position. Other agencies said, hey, can we get a look at your job description for that? To save us some time for when we go to post that, we really leverage that. So there it is. All right, move to the next slide. We are coordinating our travel training programs with other agencies and other organizations. We've inventoried the existing travel training programs in the area, and a new travel training program is actually being implemented right here at SORTA. The travel trainer position has been posted, and we are actively recruiting to fill that role. We've also developed a concept of operations to ensure that the program continues, right? So to make sure that that collaboration continues between all the programs. And we have held monthly meetings to learn what other agencies are doing and to collaborate with each other. And the next slide, we've been meeting regularly, as I mentioned. During the monthly meetings, we've learned more about Metro Now's service that we just launched. We've had the opportunity to experience travel training. And so the members of the group have had the opportunity to experience travel training from the perspective of someone receiving that travel training. I think it was the picture on the last slide, showed what it's like to try to board a bus while visually impaired. We've taken tours of the Access Eligibility Center. We've hosted special guests such as the mobility management team from the Ohio Department of Transportation, and we've shared best practices at each of these meetings. On June 8th, we partnered with ODOT to bring one of the nation's foremost experts in the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's compliance for public and human service transportation to our region. We did that virtually. It was a 3-hour training, and we learned that there are exemptions to the FMCSA oversight when interstate travel occurs within a commercial zone or contiguous municipalities, all that fun stuff. And participants learned how and when they need to register for all of the compliance regulations. Good news, we are in compliance, just so you all know.
If I may.
Yes.
And that was important because one of the things that Matt will be talking about later is for the one-seat trips. So for us to cross these jurisdictions into Kentucky or vice versa into Indiana as well. So we need to make sure that we're in the clear, we can do that, and how to proceed.
Sure. Thank you. So we have made some progress, but there are still a lot of work to be done. So we still have 2 subcommittees, as you're probably aware, that are continuing to work on these projects. And the first one we'll talk about is the Mobility Management Subcommittee. So the Mobility Management Subcommittee is continuing to focus on the implementation of passenger-centered strategies. The committee is currently focused on the first bullet point you see here, which is creating a regional mobility management program. I'll talk more about that in just a second. We're also working on implementing a regionally accepted ADA eligibility program. The first step in that process is already underway, We are gathering all the information of eligibility standards from all the different agencies, kind of putting those all into one database in one place where we can really find out what those differences are and look for opportunities to adjust those and make them the same across the board, so that if you're eligible in one system, you're automatically eligible in all of the other ones. As I mentioned about creating the mobility management program, we are working on developing a Greater Cincinnati resource guide similar to one you see on the screen here in the state of Florida. There's also one in Lorain County here in Ohio. So this guide will include a comprehensive set of information of all the transit, all the mobility options that are available here in the area, and it will include tips for folks who may have just recently experienced a change in their mobility, and kind of what are their next steps, where can they go from here, where can they get information. These mobility options, if you go back for just a second, the mobility options will also be included in GoHio's mobility platform. That is a program that is managed by ODOT. They're in the process of redeveloping this program online. It's a tool that can be used by anyone who has mobility or transportation needs in the state of Ohio, and I believe we're extending that to our friends in the surrounding areas as well, in Indiana and Kentucky. They can enter their origin, destination information, what accommodation needs they may have, preferred payment method, all that good stuff, and see what programs or options are out there for them. It'll also provide information on how to connect to those services. What do they need? Who do they need to contact? What's the eligibility criteria? All of that. And the Mobility Management Subcommittee is in the process of developing agreements or memorandums of understanding to kind of outline the vision and goals to ensure that this program is sustainable and continues. And the really fun part is the Technology Subcommittee. The initial work in procuring and implementing the unified scheduling system has been completed. That was all part of launching Metro Now. VIA is a big part of that solution. Additional work is underway to unify not just our systems, but all of the other regional paratransit systems in the area. We've partnered with NeoRide to accomplish this. They have a grant that is using to develop an interface, or what's known as middleware, that will work with VIA between the different agencies, so that those systems can talk to each other, and it will allow what I'll talk about in a second, the Easy Connect Center. It'll allow one call or one website, one click to schedule, regardless of where you're starting or which agency is actually providing that ride. So this will allow.
Do you mean?
Sorry.
Regional transit authorities or the social service agencies as well?
So we're starting with the transit authorities, but we're also involving, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. We're also involving all those other agencies as well that are interested in becoming part of that. So the really cool part about that is this software that we are creating will allow agencies to not have to abandon their current solution, right? They'll all talk to each other without having to procure a whole new system, which is time-consuming and costly at the same time. And so the most exciting part for me anyway is the Easy Connect project, which is also being coordinated by NeoRide, and it's funded by an FTA grant. We have a pretty aggressive timeline for this project. We're hoping that the entire system will at least be designed by November of this year. That's coming up quickly. We'll be able to start testing that early next year and then report back to the FTA by the end of Q1. When this is completed, the Easy Connect system will allow transit users across multiple counties or anywhere in the region to use one phone number or one website to schedule paratransit, to schedule microtransit, which is Metro Now. It'll help multiple agencies pool their resources by utilizing technology to efficiently get customers the information they need without having to go through multiple call centers, et cetera. A lot of the questions will be answered by the interactive voice response system that we're working on creating. For example, if you're a Metro Now user and you are just calling to check on your ride, when you call the phone number, the system will recognize your phone number. It knows who you are. It knows you have a ride pending. It'll say, hey, are you calling about this ride? You just want to know where your ride is. You say yes. Hey, it's 3 minutes away. All of that will be done without even having to go to a customer service representative. So. We're also working on expanding EasyFare. So EasyFare is the current payment system that we use for Metro Fixed Route and Metro Now and Access Paratransit, and other systems use across the NeoRide partnerships. The mobile ticketing system survey has been created for each of the agencies that are interested in participating in that project. The survey will help us understand how the clients of those agencies will use the expanded mobile application. We're meeting with them, I believe it's next week. There's another slide on that. That's going to help us get closer to accomplishing some of the other projects, such as determining that cost allocation method for the shared trips. So our other next steps, we're currently working on a project to improve the accessibility and wayfinding at all of our Metro bus stops. That study should be wrapping up sometime this fall. The implementation will begin after that. And as I've mentioned before, the team's working on the cost allocation method for shared trips. The VIA integration and the Easy Fare expansion are all part of that. And there is one mistake on this slide. The pilot for one-seat ride project, that should say the pilot for the one call center, not the one-seat rides. I know, I'm sorry. Sure, go ahead, Alan.
So just to put things in perspective, thank you, Matt. Stay here. Just to put things in perspective. So the ultimate goal is the one-seat trip, right? And there are three pieces for that, to make that happen, three pieces. The first piece is the one call center, which you've just heard an update on that from Matt. And that's going well with that piece to be completed by the end of this year and start testing soon after that. The second piece is the unified scheduling for all the systems to have their systems talking to each other. So if I'm calling from Cincinnati, the one call center, and I want to schedule a trip within Hamilton County, or somebody is calling from Northern Kentucky, they want to schedule a trip from using the North Kentucky system. All of these scheduling systems have to be talking together because we're using Trapeze, somebody else is using VIA, another is using some other software, and they're calling the same call center, right? So all of these scheduling systems need to be talking together. That piece will be completed by the spring of next year. The third piece is cost allocation method. That's piece of it, because if Butler County is performing a trip on our behalf, or portion of that trip is in Butler County, the other portion is in Hamilton County, how are we going to split that fare, right, and the cost? But there are other MOUs that need to be developed and agreed on by all these different parties. That's going to take a little bit of time. So probably by the fall of next year, but hopefully the goal is before the end of next year. Now, we understand the urgency of this project for the entire community and for the entire region, as a matter of fact. And Craig, you've made that very clear to us over the past year and a half.
Subtle.
And that's where we're heading. I think the technology pieces have been going smoother than expected, and that's kind of shaved off some of that time. And we're working very closely with NeoRide because the technology pieces are done with other consultants and vendors through NeoRide. That's the partnership that we have. The other stuff is being done, with our staff and our own consultant as well. But that's how these three different pieces would need to fit together to make the one-seat trip available. Thank you.
And like I said, we've been working really hard over the past year and a half, but we've got a lot more to go. So just to give you kind of a little bit of perspective on on what's been going on. So we've had about 20 meetings or so in the last 12 months. More than a dozen of those have been the team meetings and the committee meetings. We've had at least 5 Easy Connect meetings, just again, building that technology to be part of that one call center. And more of those are coming soon, as you can see on the screen here. We've also done the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration training, and we've met with ODOT a couple of times. And I would also point out, when this presentation was put together, we've actually added 2 more meetings since then. We have 2 more this week with SORTA and the staff from NeoRide and the consultant to talk more about Easy Connect. That's tomorrow and Thursday. So there's even more on the calendar than what you see here. And we will also be giving a presentation in September at the OPTA conference. They've accepted our proposal. We'll be talking about our regional paratransit project and sharing that with the rest of the industry. So. Any questions?
Any questions?
Not a question. Good presentation, Matt. Just didn't want to be remiss to thank you all publicly, Khalid and Matt. Thank you so much for coming to our Forest Park City Council meeting and presenting on Metro Now. People were very, very appreciative. You really covered a lot, and it was a very proud moment. So thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Mr. Chair, wondering, with respect to the agenda, if we shouldn't tackle the procurements while we have board members here.
You gotta go to
When
an
we-
11
yeah.
o'clock meeting, so if you would like to do that, I can stay for a few
Again,
minutes.
yeah, I just want to say thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm so excited about the progress. This is the biggest game-changing thing we're doing with all the other things we're doing, and I can't wait to see it. I was excited about February, but end of next year, I guess even faster.
It's coming. It's coming.
Thank you very much. It is important. So I think we can handle the procurement items. Please go
I'm
make
all
your
in favor
meeting.
of Kings Island.
All right, there
For
you
what
go.
it's worth.
Former employee of Kings
Yes.
Island, so it might be good that she
Kings
abstains from the voting.
4 years for you.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. We'll hold off on ridership report, do the procurement, and then we're back.
Perfect.
Okay. So we have 2 procurement items, and Andy, take it away.
That's correct. In your packet, you saw 2 action items. One is for a contract amendment for pressure washing services, and the other is for Kings Island Company for a Metro Family Day Employee Appreciation event. We can go into either one as you'd see fit. Again, the pressure washing is an amendment. This goes back to a contract that you all reviewed back in March. If you remember, with that contract, we had 3 bids. The lowest bid was this $352,000 for the transit center services. The next closest bid was $900,000. Since the maintenance staff is suggesting using this contractor to also provide pressure washing services at fleet and facilities. Jeff can talk more about that if you want to know more about the project. The second is, again, we've done calculations. We'd like to do HR is working and our DEI team is working to do an employee appreciation event this summer. The estimate of that expense would exceed $100,000. The current estimate, if 40% of the employees were to participate, would be about a $103,000 contract with Kings Island. We don't know until all employees opt. So the absolute maximum would be the number that you see on the screen. That is highly, highly, highly unlikely. However, it exceeds this threshold and authority of staff. So it's in front of you as 2 action items today.
Gotcha. So the 285 is over 5 years for pressure washing on an ad hoc basis at our main facilities. And that was being done before, but as needed, and it would be folding into normal contract. Any questions about that? Concerns?
Who is doing it today?
Currently, right now, we do it ad hoc with Roth Pressure Washing, typically, just because we have a relationship with them. As we do it with all these projects we got going on throughout the properties, with the organized chaos we have going on with the construction, we're continuing to do this work. And it made sense to contract that out and add it to this existing contract. That way we can just give them a call and they can come and do it.
Okay, great. Robert, any questions or concerns? All right. I have a concern about the second one, which is, can you get that number up? It's a weird thing to comment on, but I'd like to have as much participation as possible.
We would as well.
So yeah, the ideal is that we'll have 2 days where employees have a choice that they can go, and that during those days we have the facility, we have the picnic, we'll have food, they'll have parking. They can get up to 4 tickets because it does depend on your number of dependents. If you have more than that, then you have an option to maybe get them at a discount, but we will provide up to 4. But if you're a family of 1 or 2, then you can get 2 tickets. So we do have that information. But in addition to the 2 planned days, we're also offering an additional 4 days where an employee can't make it on day 1 or day 2. They can pick from any of a number of other days and take their family and go and participate. They won't have the picnic portion or the food, but they will still be able to participate in the rides and parking and things like that.
And this is positive culture building,
Yes,
appreciation
yes.
type of event.
Yeah. Again, the ideal is to show the employees we appreciate them in conjunction with our 50th anniversary. So this is all happening in the month of August, and we anticipate it will probably exceed. So we'll start, as soon as we have the board approval, we'll start the advertising to the employees. I think we'll get a lot of excitement and a lot of participation. So I think it'll be more than 40%. But
Great. I look forward to seeing both staff in 70s clothes at the roller rink, and I'd like to see one on the log ride. Some surprised expressions.
The flume.
Any questions or concerns about this one? No. Okay. Due to limited staff or board members, I will move the passage of the Metro Family Day onto the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Craig seconded.
Second.
Oh,
Thirded.
thirded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say left. All right, passes. Pressure washing modification, I'll move that. Craig seconded with a shrug. And all of in favor say aye.
On the consent agenda? Or you
On consent agenda.
Aye.
Aye? Left for no? Abstentions? All right, we're good. So both of those go on the consent agenda, and that takes us back to the ridership reports.
Matt? Yes.
Thank you.
You want the ridership to be smaller or no?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I saw this.
Not what I meant.
Oh, the report to be small. I got it. Goodness, the report. Yeah, I'll go through this very quickly. So the total ridership for the month of June was 983,495. That's about 1.6 above what was projected. Local was, of course, the bulk of that at 963,000, but our express routes are up a little bit to 30,000 rides. Year to date, we're at 6.3 million, and that's 4.8% above projections, and most importantly, 42% higher than this time in 2022. The next slide shows the trend. Just as expected, there was a small dip in June, but that is expected seasonally as school lets out, CPS, UC, Xavier, Cincinnati State, et cetera. The weekdays averaged 36,850, slightly off from projections due to lower than expected summer school taps from CPS. Weekends did come in strong. Saturdays nearly 25,000, average Sundays over 18,000. And again, as we've reported before, it just really does show the results of adding more service on the weekends. The passengers per hour on local service, 16.9. That's 1.0 higher than the budget. And cost recovery, 11.6. That's 1.6 higher than budget. And passengers per trip on express and commuter routes was 7.3. That's 4.1 less than the budget. And cost recovery was 23.9%, which is 5.9% higher than the budgeted KPI. And a lot of this is due to the higher ridership on especially routes 71 and 72X to Kings Island, which we were just talking about. The local OTP, I believe we spoke about that earlier in the meeting, is 77.5% overall. There were 2,312 missed trips in the month of June. That's slightly down from the previous month, and Metro operated 96.6% of all scheduled fixed route trips. The missed trips for each day of the month, as you can see, and then the following slide just shows the days of the week. The trend continues to be Sundays and Fridays. And moving on to Access. Access provided 15,397 rides, which is 2.5% above the budget and 5.7% higher than this time last year. The bulk of those, of course, occurred on weekdays, with Saturdays and Sundays being about even. In year-to-date, Access has provided 88,407 rides, and that's 6.3% higher than budget.
Real quick question on the missed trip spikes. So the Sunday spikes. What's that percentage hitting? Because we have less service, right? Less service and much higher.
It is certainly. Sunday service is about 40 to 50%, I believe, of a weekday. So yeah, when you figure that number that Sunday compared to a weekday, definitely significant.
You just can't get people to show up on Sunday.
Well, you see where the head count is, right? So the focus is still Monday through Friday, where the bulk of the service is. There's a lot of overtime need on the weekends. So we're finding that impact play out on Sundays.
I do have a question. Just comment if you have any information on. Have you seen, in terms of Access, the ridership, there are a lot of people who caught, because I ride it as well. I ride all the time. You know, an increase in the number of people using this for church or for after church or before church or anything like that. Have you have any information on that? Because I've noticed a lot of it, and people are using it more.
Yeah, certainly the increase in service, the 24-hour service, the increased span and coverage on weekends has definitely played a part in that. And I know our access folks, I don't think Lisa or Tony is here, but I know they're looking into where those rides are actually starting and ending, so we can find out more about that exact question. That's what we're trying to find out.
And just something for the future, people, the system works, and it's working better and better and better. And people are using it to the point where, as I use all of these systems, when I'm on the regular metro, I see more and more people with walkers, with canes, with wheelchairs, and in some cases, you know, to pack and figure out which way to even sit, because there's a real funny thing that happens, because the bus is on the seat, you're up high, but if you're on the ground looking in to see how to get your wheelchair onto the vehicle, sometimes you don't realize it until you are inside that, oh my goodness, I need to back out, turn around, and come back again. Is there any way to work with the drivers, work with the system to help the drivers to let the passenger, if they see a passenger who's in a wheelchair, let them know that they might need to back in because there's already someone on that vehicle who their legs might be sticking out or whatever. And so it's easier to back in than to get on and discover, oh, I need to back out, because backing out is tricky, you know, turn around and back in. So just, but the system's working. That's all I'm saying. I'm happy. The system's working.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yep, so we can jump ahead to the Metro Now ridership. So finally, Metro Now provided just over 500 rides in the month of June. Sorry, trying to go fast here. Weekdays averaged 18.6 rides, Saturdays 12.8, and Sundays 11.5. 96% of all of those trips were picked up within 5 minutes of the proposed time to the customer. Springdale is continuing to grow. We've had some days up in the 30s, 30 rides or more. We're approaching 1,000 rides so far total on the service. I know Coleraine and Mount Healthy just started a week ago today. And the first 4 days, we averaged about 14 rides. So it started out a little bit stronger than the Springdale Sharonville zone, but continuing to grow every day.
Do we know how many, or is it the same people using it all the time, or are we growing and expanding the people?
A little bit of both. So we definitely saw an increase in the number of new passengers or first-time passengers when we opened up the second zone, of course. But we do track that. I can get that information for you.
And I think it would be great. I know you shared with the Inquirer that sort of where folks are going to. I think it's interesting. That'll be part of that marketing discussion. I guess here's how folks are using it is great. So I'm excited. I know, I hope we get to the point where we're saying, man, we don't have no vehicles, so we got to figure it out. But
Our plan is in a couple of months, once we have a little bit more data, to actually do a presentation to the Planning and Ops Committee about Metro Now. It's still really early in the process, so we figured we'd wait a couple of months.
Blake's just so excited about it.
Damn, I'm like a kid at Christmas, but it's November and I want to open those presents now. So get that data as soon as you can. I love what's going on. Thank you, everybody, and I think that adjourns the Planning and Ops, except Andy has one more thing.
Sorry not to belabor a long meeting, but in the spirit of Mr. Ravazio and bearing the lead with respect to procurement, you'll see a little note in here that year-to-date diversity spends at $4.4 million. Higher 2022 calendar year of $4.3 million.
And we should note that in every meeting. Now adjourned.
Way
Thank
better
you.
than what the city's doing, you always say, right, Joe?